A familiarity with different timbres of individual instruments and the ability to use timbre well are important parts of orchestration. Timbre is the color or tone quality of an instrument. It is largely determined by an instrument's overtones and is the reason why we are able to tell the difference between a flute and an oboe playing the same pitch, or even between two different flutes playing the same pitch. There are two basic types of timbre: pure timbre and composite timbre. In the strictest sense, pure timbre is the sound of one type of instrument playing pitches that are not duplicated by any other instrument, while composite timbre results from two or more different instruments playing the same pitches. Let's delve a little deeper into this with some examples. Here is an example of a single flute playing a melodic line. This would be an example of pure timbre. If two flutes played the same melodic line, it would also be considered a pure timbre, although slightly less pure since no two flutes have the exact same timbre. Here is the same example, this time played in perfect unison by a flute and an oboe. This is called unison doubling and is an example of a composite timbre. In unison doublings, the individual timbre of each instrument blends together and creates a new composite timbre. The more homogeneous sounding the two instruments are, the more complete the composite sound will be. Let's replace the oboe with the clarinet and listen to the difference. Notice how the bite of the oboe in the preceding example stood out against the flute, while the warmth of the clarinet in this example blends better. This is because the timbres of the flute and clarinet are more homogeneous than the timbres of the flute and oboe. Now listen to what happens if the clarinet were to play the same line as the flute, but an octave lower. When two instruments play the same line in octaves, it is called octave doubling. Octave doubling is a very common technique in orchestration. Both unison doublings and octave doublings are used to blend timbres, but octave doublings allow each timbre to retain more of its own identity. Think of unison doublings as mixing two colors of paint to get a new color, like yellow and blue make green. Now think of octave doublings as two colors next to each other on the canvas, used to complement or contrast with each other. Octave doublings do not always have to be two different instruments playing the same line an octave apart. They can also be any of the following: two of the same instrument playing the same line an octave apart, two of the same instrument playing the same line two or more octaves apart, two different instruments playing the same line two or more octaves apart, or multiple instruments playing the same line in multiple octaves. Are octave doublings considered pure or composite timbres? Well, technically, each instrument is playing a different set of pitches, and in that respect the timbre is pure. But since each instrument is playing the same musical element, in this case the melody, the timbre comes across as somewhat composite sounding. And so we see that the musical element each instrument is playing can have a large impact on whether the timbre will come across as pure or composite sounding. For example, if the flute and clarinet were playing completely different and distinct melodies, the resulting sound would be that of two contrasting pure timbres. It would not come across as sounding composite-like.